All right, so
Like you said.
here's a Qigong exercise to help you see.
Right. So if people have taken my advice, well, if they have a yoga practice or a Qigong practice, Tai Chi practice, anything that coordinates physical motion, breathing, basically, as a, let's say, an energetic type of exercise, right? So something that every motion brings into some element of strength, conditioning, so flexibility and balance, right? So those are the three components that we're looking at with these things. So, and of course, the breathing being, the most important thing that coordinates all three of those others together, right? So the breathing is paramount when it comes to those types of exercise routines or practices, right? So if they already have one, great. If they haven't had one, I've recommended, at least with the healing Qigong, Spring Forest Qigong is one of my favorites as far as that goes. And wonderful practice, easy to do, anybody can do it, and short and sweet, and really very effective, extremely effective for opening the channels, keeping them open, keeping your energy flowing, open up any impedances that are there that will put you in optimal health, basically.
Right.
And keep the energy flowing. Again, it's having your energy stagnated is the antithesis of seeing, basically. So it's like you don't want to, it will stop your progress, or at least keep you in a very a lower level for sure. Because you need to have that free flow in order to generate that. So again, one exercise, at least in the Spring Forest Qigong, that helps to facilitate that ability to see, and there are other exercises that I'll make mention of later, that'll coordinate that, so you know which territory that we're looking at. But basically, he calls it the harmony of the universe. So it's sort of like a combination of some of the ones of the exercises that came before that, and they combine them together. So, he literally states in his write-up of each exercise, which is pretty concise, that if you do this exercise eyes closed, because most times with Qigong, your eyes are open, right? You have a focal point, you're staying centered and balanced. But if you do this exercise with your eyes closed, it can facilitate a view of colors or light, right? So, and I wouldn't really differentiate between those too much in the beginning, like any light. And when we say light, it could be, just a hazy light in the background. It could be a fogginess, that's a little lighter, and again can be, a lighter grayish tone, or just some kind of amorphous light in the background that will sort of as you stay within that for a while, it'll sort of differentiate and sort of become more variegated. So there'll be darker areas and lighter areas, and you want to focus always on the lighter areas. But there can be colors that come through, and one of the more common ones is purple. So if that's the case, you'd focus on that. And by focus, meaning just that as you're doing the exercises, instead of the more dull areas, you're going to focus on, again, the brighter areas within the field of view behind your closed eyes. So whatever that is, that's going to be good. But it could be other colors as well, right? So, and that's basically it. It's just going to enhance that. It tends to be more of a background than anything else, but it does facilitate, other aspects of seeing coming in a little bit easier later on. So, and we're going to do other exercises, meditative exercises, that will enhance that and make it stronger, intentionally make it stronger. And this one, it's more like, okay, this is just opening those channels to help that move a little easier. So there's no stagnation within the channels that are flowing there. And so, and that's basically all this is. So, and it just gives you that indication that that's what's happening. You might get it on the very first one, and that means everything's open and working fine, right? Don't freak out if it's not happening right away, or even after a few times doing this exercise. The idea is that you're just, Again, not grasping, not forcing the issue, right? Just being present and watching and seeing, observing and seeing if that just spontaneously arises. And when it does, I'm just, as I do the exercises and move through it, and concentrating on my breathing. And, you know, once I have the motion down, I'm really only focused on the breath. The motion comes automatically, right? So it's, the muscle memory is there. It's not a complex exercise. And so, you know, am I relaxed? Am I in balance? You know, is my posture good? You know, all of those things. You know, are my muscles, you know, relatively, you know, slightly tight where they need to be and relaxed everywhere else? And, you know, that makes that flow go through a certain channel, right, or channels, and facilitates a certain amount of flow. Different configuration than just walking around, let's say. And so, and if you are getting that presence of something behind your eyes that's just sort of like, okay, you know, there's a certain amount of light that's coming through there, and it's brighter in certain areas and more dull in other areas, I'm concentrating. I'm just focusing, observing the lighter areas, and as I move through the routine, I'm constantly focusing on the lighter areas until I finish the number that I'm going to do. Or if it's just a time, you know, if you've set a time, oh, I'm going to do this exercise for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it is, you know, when that finishes, you're done, right? So, but I'm just, as I do it and as I get more into my breathing and more into my flow, is that enhancing that color to come up, or is it enhancing that, the intensity of the light to, you know, really start to be more than it was originally? And those are good things. It's, again, in some ways enhancing that, making sure there's no stagnation in the that configuration of flow, and also enhancing it, you know, as a way to kind of keep things moving in the right direction. Again, hitting it from multiple approaches to try to help open that up and make it easier for you. Yeah. There's not much more to it than that.
No, that's cool. I mean, it's a good overview. And I think when, you know, we'll film you doing the exercise, and then, and have you do the description of the process as you're doing it as well, because I think it'll be a little easier than trying to describe it right now and then physically doing it later. So,
right.
But,
or trying to completely describe it while I'm doing it. That's not going to work.
Yeah, we'll do a little bit of both. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. But, you know, that's the idea with any of the physical exercises, regardless if it's a yoga routine or anything else. It's like you're trying to facilitate flow through the channels and the meridians, and, you know, and flow with the energy that's around you as well, which is really important to be more sensitive to that, and pick that up over time, and, you know, move with it. Don't resist it. You know, go with it, and you use that momentum that's inherent in the environment to facilitate what you're trying to do in a better way. That's all. It's a little more than I was planning on saying, but that's it.
It's a little abstract, but I think we put it into practice, we'll have a better sense of
when you
what
put it
mean
into
by
practice,
that.
you'll see. You know, it'll be easier when you see what's around you.
Right.
Because you'll be able to tell instantly what you're doing is resisting, or you're moving with the energy that's in the environment, and how it feels to resist and how it feels to go with the flow, right? So, and, you know, what kind of what effects that produces in you. So
when you're looking at a room and you're seeing the energy of the environment, you're also, obviously, just like you are with physical things or people or whatever, you're aware of like what your relationship with the energy is like, and how you're moving, and, you know, the words you're speaking, let's say, or all those things, how that affects the energy. And whether the energy of the environment is, whether you're going with it or whether you're going against it.
Right. And how do you use that momentum to tune it up or tune it down, right? Because you don't always want to tune everything up. If everybody's aggressive in the room, you don't want to tune that up.
Right, yeah, I'm just like, all of a sudden my mind's going into all the applications of that, like for people that are in business settings, whether like in a boardroom meeting or something, or like whatever. I mean, it's
putting,
for all of
like,
us.
say you're a manager that has to put a team of people together.
Mm.
And you've got all these prospects, but it's not just about who has the best resume, right? It's like, how are you going to put together this optimal team? It's like, who's going to, not by the looks and not by the paper that they have and what they've accomplished. You may take a few key members in doing that, but, the rest of them you may pick by saying, okay, how are they going to blend with these others? And what's going to be the perfect configuration that's going to give that group such a synergy that they're going to be able to accomplish way more than they ever would be able to, with other members being in there.
And you're looking at that energy,
You're seeing
those energy fields, and seeing how they're blending, and seeing what the dynamic is, and whether it's,
right,
friction,
how they interact,
or whether
friction
it's flow.
or flow, right? Yeah.
It's a lot of it's really cool. I mean, just it's nice as we have these conversations to kind of to look at the different exercises themselves, but also have the opportunity to kind of tease out these different applications of what kind of insights this ability gives you.
Right.
It's really cool.
Well, it's like when it's not so different when you just keep it as a tool. It's not so different as looking in the room and saying, oh, what's the position I want to occupy in this room? What would be most comfortable for me? And, which chair is the one that I want to occupy?
Sure.
Does that look more comfortable to me than this one? And, it's like you're not putting it on any higher or
Sure.
lower level than that, right? It's just sort of like, oh,
Yeah.
there's a little eddy over there, and, not liking that so much. So can I change it easily, or, do I just need to avoid it and move to a place where it's better for me? Those places of power, if you want to think of it that way, is very individual. It's like, you'll know from your experience which places feel best to you, and for a visual reference, you'll be able to just pick them out and move to that spot where you're always in your optimum place. Or if you can't be in an optimum place, let's say something else is there and as you're not allowed to be in that spot, how can I make the spot where I have to be better for me? Can I change it in a way that's going to make it good for me? That's the other part of that. So, and the subtle little things that you can do, it doesn't take a lot to do that. So, but it's easier when you have a visual reference than just trying to feel it out, at least in the beginning.
Yeah, right. Because in
Yeah.
the beginning, when you can't see, it's like, again, that analogy of
Okay,
being
I'm
in a
like-
dark room.
How do you know where to go or what to do? What one place is better than another place,
Right.
or what's over there? Maybe it's something sharp. I don't want to step.
Sure.
There are all these things we don't know, right?
But when we can see, yeah.
it'll be and yourself, right? It's like, just because some place is shiny doesn't mean it's good for you. Doesn't mean that's going to blend with you. You need to know yourself to know that that's a good place or not a good place for you, not by its pattern of its own. It's like, how does that blend with you? And you'll only know that from your own experience. So, because it's about adjusting yourself to the situation, not trying to always change the environment from the outside. Change yourself and you'll blend in with whatever's going on there.
Right.
You'll adapt, and that adaptation, it's those things that evolve and continue to evolve are those things that can adapt, very quickly and, with great benefit. So those things that are so solid and whatever, it's like eventually something will break them. Right? They can't stay like that.
Nature
forever.
wears them down.
Something will rip them down. Something that's bigger and more, more than they are. So, and that's it. So adaptability will help you evolve into the place you want to be. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks, man.
No problem.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we don't really know exactly why.
Recording on your phone?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right.
Start again.
Start again. And by start again, you mean just channeling, my, All right. So we don't actually know why. We don't actually know why that how the mechanism of this one exercise, and I'm sure there are plenty of others, but this one really helps to promote the ability to see energy. So, but it does, and so the idea again with Qigong, yoga, Tai Chi, that basically every motion that you make in, walking around, doing everything, and, changes the configuration of your own energy and your field and sphere of sensation, right? So that's why these very specific motions, why do they look, why do they look strange to some people? It's like very slow, and we're trying to stay in contact. The reason it's slow, you're trying to stay in contact with the energy and move it in a very specific way when you do that. And so slight angles of the hand are different, and it changes. Every little thing changes what's happening with that configuration or that circuitry of energy within yourself and within your sphere, right? When I also do it with the certain or specific type of breathing, it accentuates it or takes it away, or tamps it down. So different breathings will do different things. So, but all in all, we know that this specific exercise, again, as well as probably many others, help to open up the channels in a way that shunts more energy into probably the third eye, the crown chakra, the throat, and basically this whole center line, so the middle pillar basically, and connects them in a way that produces a very relaxed state. Again, we're going for that very relaxed state, and opens the channels in a way that promotes the ability to see in a much stronger way than if you're not doing it. So that's the idea. A lot of times when you get used to it, I would say do it first with your eyes open. But again, at a certain point when you're really familiar with it and your balance is good and all of that, do it with your eyes closed and see what the differences is. See what the difference is in comparison to eyes open and eyes closed. I mean, and again, the exercise could be done. I'm just going to show it a few times, but the exercise could be done, for 20 or 30 minutes, really. I mean, if you really wanted to. I'm not saying you have to do that to get effect, but it could possibly be done that long. So that's the difference between, one of the differences between healing Qigong and building Qigong. Building Qigong is a very specific sequence to promote a certain effect. And healing Qigong is more about opening the channels and making sure there are no blockages, there's no stagnation, and the flow of energy is, induced and made better on a regular basis.
Do you think that as you're becoming more sensitive to the tactile sensation of the energy, that's also promoting your mind tuning into the reality of it, that somehow, do you think there's a correlation there?
I think there is, but usually the way is that people started, they're very concerned, they're tense because they're very concerned about doing the motion right, getting the physical routine down until they get the physical routine down, which again, these are relatively easy exercises. I mean, it may look at first flush like it's complex, but it's not. When we break it down, you'll see it's very simple. And it doesn't take long before you are able to do it. You've memorized it and it's not a big deal. And then you're trying to coordinate it with breathing. So now you've added another layer of complexity to it, right? So first you're just trying to get the physical motion down, then coordinate it with the breathing. And then once that becomes very, very common and routine for you, then you focus on the things like relaxing. Okay, I'm doing this, I've got my motion down, I've got my breathing coordinated with that motion, I'm reaching my senses out and trying to really, take stock of the things that are going on around me and take stock of what's going on within me, right? And then any other sensations or phenomena that are coming up around me doing this practice. Because the other part is, commonplace for you now, it's routine. Right, so that's the idea, but it always happens in those sort of phases, right? So when you can dismiss one, something else will come up, and you're able to put more focus and attention on that. That's how it goes for everyone. So, all right. So I'm gonna do this a couple times, and I'm gonna do it, probably like twice through because it rotates. So one side then the other, then one side then the other, and then we'll I'll walk through the explanation of it, and then I'll do it again so you see the full motion again, and that's it. So healing Qigong is always in a very comfortable stance. It's not wide or anything like that. The idea is that it's just in a very common stance of feet about shoulder width or maybe a little bit wider, maybe a little bit shorter, whatever is most comfortable for you. Again, promoting that idea of relaxation is, the joints are not locked. So my knees are slightly bent. You can see that I'm doing it in common street clothes. So it's, it's not something that you need a uniform for. You don't have to be in a gi that's going to, flex and stretch and all this stuff. So it can be done anywhere, anytime. My arms are relaxed. And so this motion, I'm starting from here. I'm just relaxing for a second. Breathing nice and deep. Again, don't hold your breath. It's in and out very slowly. There we go. So, okay, so I'm starting out, my feet are straight, parallel, okay, and about, well, this is comfortable for me, about shoulder width or maybe a little shorter, okay. Hands are starting here, just relaxing my body, sort of making sure my alignment is good. Again, back is always straight. It never bows, right? It never bows. It's always straight. There's a curve inside your lower back, right? Neck is straight. Means my chin is pulled back slightly to accentuate my straight neck, and that it's in line with my spine. And so I'm always trying to keep my center of gravity, right? And so if I'm leaning to one side or to the other, I'm going lower on my legs to keep my balance, right? I'm not leaning over and losing my balance. So my hands come together, form the ball, right? So a ball of chi, or a ball of energy. I'm breathing in, and as I breathe in, I'm moving this up, breathing in all the way to the peak of the motion and opening my arms. Now, here's an interesting point, and it may have something to do with why this exercise has the effect that we're using it for. Of course, it has other effects too. But how I said, you never want to stop breathing, right? Most Qigong, you never hold your breath. So in this case, with this exercise, you actually are holding your breath. And there's always these points where, never say never, right? So it's like, so as soon as I say never hold your breath, here's this exercise that we're showing you that intentionally holds your breath. And I'm sure there are other things like that. So, when I get to the peak of this motion, my breath is held, right? So it's like I'm breathing in all the way to the top, and then I'm stopping. I'm holding my breath at this point. And I'm still holding my breath when my hands come together and the palms come down over the crown of my head. And then I start breathing out before I move again. Nice and gently, nice and slow, releasing my breath, coming down, palms going over my face. Once they get to below the face level, they go into this priest position. Still breathing out very slowly. Then breathing in again, expanding my lungs and opening everything up, and breathing out. And again, forming that idea, imagining that there's a ball of energy between your outstretched hands. So this is this big beach ball of energy, right? And as I'm relaxing, right? As I'm breathing out very slowly, I'm compressing the ball. The ball's being compressed, and I feel a tension on my palms, as if it's really like there's a bit of pressure there, like I'm trying to push two magnets together, two magnets of the same direction, right? So, and so there's that bit of resistance there, that magnetic resistance. And so it gets to about here, and I start to cross my arms, and they sort of go over each other. And it's like my palms are over and above and below my elbows, okay? Shoulders are still relaxed, nice and square. And then whatever arm is on top, that's the direction I'm rotating to. So I'm rotating, my feet aren't moving, I'm just bending my torso, keeping it straight, and leaning slightly, but my back is still very straight. It's straight, it's not humped like this, okay? Very straight. And it's really important to keep that line open. It's one of the most important things to do, right? So you want to keep that main channel open and flowing. So I'm at this place, and it's like my head, almost like my temple is over that elbow, so to speak. I mean, it can't be completely over it, but it's like that position, right? So I've moved to that position, breathing out, then, breathing in. Then I'm breathing in and extending this, right? As I extend these two hands, so the left hand goes up, and I'm picking up my heel on this back leg as my arms are moving and rotating it, right? So that, again, I'm not going against the joint. I'm not putting extra pressure there. I'm rotating that heel, rotating the toe of my foot, picking the heel up off the ground. So this hand goes up, and the position is like this, basically. Yeah, so that's a snake, right? So that's here and pointed toward the crown of my head. The other hand is just a flat, open palm, but the fingers are pointed toward my hip. Okay, so, and that's my extension, my full extension, but not locking my joints, right? My knees are still slightly bent. Okay, that's the idea. My back is very straight. Breathing in, and then on the breath out, nice and slow, I breathe first and my hand starts to move, come down, and then I'm back at the ball again. Okay, so and I start the whole motion going on the other side. So just to reiterate, just the breathing part, right? So I'm breathing in, holding, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Back to the starting position again. Okay, so, and it's very slow, right? And if you're really looking for the slight nuances, always, whether it's inhale or exhale, always start your breathing before you start your physical motion. Okay, always start your breathing before you start your physical motion. The idea in Qigong, and it may be in other things like yoga that I don't know about, okay, so but in Qigong, the physical motion is matched to the rhythm of your breath. Excuse me. Not the other way around, right? It's not like I do these fancy motions and I figure out when to breathe in between or where can I catch my breath. The rhythm of breathing is set up first and your physical motions match that. Okay, so that's why, before you see my hands start to lift up, even if you can't hear it or you can't see it, because how are you going to see me breathing, right? So it's like I start my breath ahead of time. Before my physical body part starts to move, before I start to shift or anything, my breathing starts first, right? So this will really help you and give you more out of that. So, and again, once you memorize it, you can do it with your eyes closed if you want, or flip it back and forth. Don't do it until, don't jump ahead. You're not going to cut the learning curve down by doing that. You're going to miss steps, or you're going to miss being proficient at certain things before you move to the next thing, and you're going to be frustrated at the end because it's not going to give you the results you're looking for. So, don't cut yourself short, right? Do the process and really take the time to really become very proficient at each of these stages. So, memorize the physical motion or just do it with me. And then with those couple of things that I do, memorize it. It's not going to take you very long. Get really comfortable with doing it both sides, switching back and forth, all of that. And then, looking at the, sort of those physical parts that are most important, like breathing before you move, keeping your back straight, feet are, in the right position and flat, right? And then, the only place where my heel turns and comes up is at that very end when I'm rotating out, right? So, other than that, my feet are down. Don't lock your knees. Don't lock your joints, right? They're all bent, right? So there's no joints that are just stiff and open, right? My back is completely straight. I'm vertical. I'm not feeling strain from trying to hold myself up, right? I'm in balance all the time. I'm trying to stay in balance all the time. And so, and then when you have all that down, think about the breathing, right? How does that breathing go? I mean, try to do it right from the beginning, but really focus on the breathing. Like now that you don't have to think about the physical part anymore, think about really, what is giving me the deepest breath without straining myself, and always starting your breathing in or out before you start the physical motion, whether it's going up or down or rotating, anything like that, before any physical motion, your breath has already started. Really, really important. So when you get to that phase and everything's going through, then when you're really good with that, that's when, you start thinking about other things, because that's sort of routine now, right? You really have it down, and that's when you can sort of go more inside. How does that feel? What are the other sensations that are coming up? It can be, especially in nature when you're doing this, because you're getting help from everything that's around you, right? So when you're doing that, it's very likely that you'll probably start to see energy as you're doing this routine. I mean, it's very common for me to do that without actually thinking about it. And again, it's like you acknowledge it and you let it go, right? If you want more, acknowledge it and let it go. Don't try to grasp it, right? Don't go after it and look for it, and don't try to hold the phenomena. You won't be able to. It's like trying to grab smoke. But you can induce more of it by acknowledging it and letting it go, and it'll keep coming back. It'll get stronger, and it'll become just part of your everyday world, which is what we're looking for, basically under your control, but still accessible by you whenever. And that's really what we're trying to do. So and then it gets better and better, right? Because obviously there are many more benefits than just seeing energy that this exercise does. And I highly encourage you, if you don't have a physical practice of yoga, tai chi, qigong, one of the moving meditations, exercise, meaning exercise that is not just physical body exercise, but matching the breath with the physical motion in some way, you need to get one. If you're going to do energy medicine, if you're going to do energy work on any decent level, you have to have a practice like this. It's something that's woefully missed in Western esoteric practice, and you need to correct that. So it'll add at least a third to your ability to be able to, and probably more, to be able to bring energy in and manipulate it and send it out again. So it's that crucial. I mean, really, without that, it's unlikely that you'll ever get to a level that's going to be really, really beneficial for you. So, I mean, we've seen it with other cultures. So, and I can tell right away when somebody has a decent, physical practice as well as, their energetic practice, that it's supporting them, and one is supporting the other. So it's really, really critical. So I highly recommend that to you. Yeah, that's it. And we'll see how that does, and we'll answer any questions.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have you do the snake position.
Yeah.
Show that really clearly.
Just the hand or just the over the head?
Yeah, both. Like show exactly where your thumb is touching your hand and stuff.
Index finger. Yep, it's like that. So the difference between the snake and the crane: snake is flat like this. Flat meaning my fingers are together, hand is here. Crane is all in one point, like that. So it's not like that. It's like this, snake.
Gotcha.
Okay? And it's over my head, so it's pointing, when I'm in this position, it's up again, even though I'm stretching myself or, trying to get, like, how can I be the most relaxed and get the most stretch out of myself? How can I elongate myself almost more by intent than by physically stretching it? Because what I don't want is to lock my joints. I don't want to lock my joints. So that's the idea. The chi has to flow. And if you lock them out, it's not a good thing. So, and it's pointed toward the crown of my head, so it's pointed toward that chakra. And so there's a little connection that's made from here and goes through and is connected to my other hand that's down by my hip. So it flows through that channel, right? It's a way to make a connection, an energetic flow through there, right? Awesome. Yeah, cool. There you go. So, and we'll see how that does. It's nice, it's beautiful out. So, wish you guys all a great day. Get on it and start adding this to your routines, and then we'll be doing more of this type of stuff and getting out of the studio a little more too, which is great, because it's like, this is where I live. This is nice, so it's like, you gotta, take advantage of those times in nature when you can really, become part of that in a intentional way rather than just being part of the landscape, right? It's like you can get in there and really go with it and exchange that energy back and forth. So it's really good. We'll take advantage of it too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Ta-da!
That's
That was
it,
good.
man. That's it.
Yeah, it looked great.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought it looked awesome. We'll see. I'll be curious to see how the sound does with like that stuff, like the machines and barking. It seemed like that was
Really far in the distance.
Yeah,
I could hear the
it seemed like
turkeys
it was-
more. It's like,
yeah.
I was like, yeah, boys, eat those ticks.
Yeah, seriously.